Welcome to the Bronx Virtual Town Hall, advocating for safer streets, stronger families, and a fairer NYC. Follow Dr. Bartholomew's journey and discover events at drselmab.com. Your engagement is crucial as we create meaningful change. Thank you for being part of this movement. Let's work together to make her story a reality. Stay informed and connected by following Dr. Bartholomew at drselmab.com. Welcome to the Bronx Virtual Town Hall, advocating for safer streets, stronger families, and a fairer NYC. Follow Dr. Bartholomew's journey and discover events at drselmab.com. Your engagement is crucial as we create meaningful change. Thank you for being part of this movement. Let's work together to make her story a reality. Stay informed and connected by following Dr. Bartholomew at drselmab.com. Welcome to the Bronx Virtual Town Hall, advocating for safer streets, stronger families, and a fairer NYC. Follow Dr. Bartholomew's journey and discover events at drselmab.com. Your engagement is crucial as we create meaningful change. Thank you for being part of this movement. Let's work together to make her story a reality. Stay informed and connected by following Dr. Bartholomew at drselmab.com.
I am running for mayor of New York City because, one, I grew up in Harlem. And we fought that crack that devastated our communities. It did not just devastate Black and brown communities, but so many of our families were destroyed. Children lost mothers and fathers and grandparents. And now they are pushing that weed on our children. Weed buses every single where. Our girls are going missing. We don't have an affordable problem in New York City. We have an unaffordable problem where we are being pushed out. Homes are being stolen. Guns are now in the hands of our children, 12, 13-year-olds, killing each other, assaulting grandparents on the buses. We have such an unhealthy environment. Our streets are dirty. And I said to them, no, I am not going to sit back and watch you kill my children and steal that generational wealth from us. I'm Dr. Bartholomew. I got this. And so let's go. How is it that in this country, generation after generation, you get Black and brown and working class kids to only want working class job, to feel so disconnected, right? To feel so disconnected from community. So what do I want to do about it? So all of the things that you've described is really saying that we have an unhealthy ecosystem, that things are not working. Our schools are challenging, the subways are not working, our healthcare is not working. And so now we need to build a healthy ecosystem. And how we go about building that ecosystem is being very intentional about our priorities, So let me tell you one of the first things I'd like to do in New York City, and then I'm going to connect the education piece as to why this is so important. Across this city, as I mentioned, for every dollar, we don't make any money. We make less than half a penny. We have so many entrepreneurs, we have barbershops, we have beauty shops, and nobody has ever invested in them and see them as part of the network of care for our young people. So I'd like to do business hubs across the city, not just one, not two, but zip code by zip code. And drop business hubs across the city and bring in our entrepreneurs, those who have 40, 50 years of experience. I was just at Denny Mo's and I did a meet and greet. He's been there for 48 years as a business owner, and no one has ever asked him a question about how do you work with the young people? How do you support them? So bring him into the hub. In this business hub, let us give our businesses the training, the skill sets, the coaching, the mentoring that they need in order to grow their businesses and in order to grow themselves and be financially stable, so that they can now reach into the community and hire our youth. We have over 300,000 people in this city who have impacted by criminal justice system and they can't get work. So they can either be the entrepreneur in the hub, or more importantly, these businesses can now reach into our community and hire these individuals and hire youth who are in our communities and they feel left behind. They are abandoned. I'm in every borough, especially in the evening time, I walk, I talk to my young people. They're sitting on the steps and they're smoking weed and they feel like if they've been abandoned. And so we now have to reach for them. These business hubs will also create opportunity. So when you see young people 18 to 25 to 30, they're stealing bikes, they're stealing these things. It's because they don't have opportunity. And it is opportunity that has been intentionally stolen across our community and in particular in Black and Brown communities. In the business hub, I'm going to bring VCs in there, bring Wall Street. I don't have an issue with Wall Street. I just think that they've been allowed to be vultures in our community, and you need a leader that says enough. Bring the venture capital in there. When the venture capital gives you a matching dollar of $50,000 or $500,000, I will match it. People say to me, Dr. Bartholomew, that can't be done. Well, let me let you know, New York State has been giving businesses matching VC dollars for the past few years. And none of our leaders in our communities has said this to Black and Brown businesses. Instead, they give us food pantries, they give us thank yous and proclamations, and we get nothing. So we have not had the opportunity to be uplifted. These VC funds have been done across the country. I've worked in places like North Dakota. I've worked up in California. And so we're not investing in businesses. So the business hubs are critical to developing our community and a healthy ecosystem and really bridging that intergenerational conversation between our youth and our young people. In the context of education, I am your education mayor. I've worked with schools across the country. I did one of the largest audits of Rikers Island before anybody even started thinking about what was happening in Rikers Island. I spent over a year there looking at what was happening around our communities. They just told your students they couldn't bring cell phones to school. I get it that the devices give you vices, but we must now say to children, the cell phone is not just for Instagram, baby, and for Facebook. This is one of the most advanced pieces of technology ever made. You could trade $1 trillion a day on Wall Street, $1 trillion a day from your cell phone, And so those expectations, those low expectations and that low mindset is what's killing you. And so they use your pain in order to hide the truth. And so they just gave a company $20 million to buy cell phone bags. You say, oh, my kids are not learning. I want them to do more things to get off the devices. They bought cell phone bags. They didn't buy jump ropes for girls. They didn't buy art. They didn't buy music. They didn't buy swimming. I'd like to teach 1.5 million children how to swim. How to swim. Swimming is a real equity issue. It also builds confidence. We have so many pools in New York City schools. The boilers are not working, and so the kids can't swim because the water is too cold. There's no plan and there's no roadmap. It's time that you put a leader in place that's really going after the salt of the earth. That's who I am. I'm going after the things that I know matter and that I know matter in terms of communities across this city. Across this city, children are hurting. In New York City right now, no one wants to say that the rate of the most dangerous things for Black and Brown children and all children, suicide, picking up a gun and deciding that you want to kill yourself because you feel so disconnected and no one and the services are not reaching you. Suicide, no one is teaching our children any driver's ed. Our children are dying on that expressway out in Long Island. You see them driving on the roads, drug driving, the tickets. All of these things are perpetuating passive violence on children and on our communities, and it is not being intentionally addressed. I want to also say to you that New York City is not poor. We have so much of the taxes, the red light cameras, they are killing us with this, taxing us heavily. If you are a mom dropping your child off in the morning time, you can get 3-4 tickets every week. They designed the street so you can't drop off a child who's disabled. You can't drop off a senior, but you can get tickets. We're not poor. Our mayor and our city council just gave $400 million to renovate Fifth Avenue, $400 million to renovate Fifth Avenue. That money did not go to gun violence and all of the things that you just spoke about. I've worked with all schools. I've worked with charter. I work with public. I work with Islamic day schools. I've worked with all. What we need to focus on is schooling. You can't close charter schools. If that horse has already left its stable, it's already left. And a lot of people who are in charter schools, they're there because the public schools were not motivating. We're not doing it. And we know that there's the money only issue, right? There's a deeper issue around the fact that a lot of companies get tax breaks. International companies get tax breaks for investing in our neighborhoods that we don't even know about, right? But what even our charter schools want is that they want schooling. They want to figure out how to uplift their children to compete. So the data across the board is that our children are not competing. Now, let me be clear about the data. National Assessment of Educational Progress in 1978 said that Black children were at 13%. 4 decades later, you've only gained 1 percentage point. You're at 14. White children, education in this country has flatlined. White children were at 86%. That data has come down. They're lower than 40. They have flatlined. And so we now need to now decide, who are you really competing with? Where's the competition? Our children are not told, look up on the world. They're not given the love. They're not given the support. We have left our children, and it's time for us to take our children back. It's time for us to give them the programs, not just the programs, but give them the things that they feel confident in, that they can connect with our seniors. Our seniors are sitting in senior centers all day alone. And our young people are in schools alone. We got to now bridge it. He had regular indicators of his work. And so as mayor, I plan on having clear indicators, weekly indicators. Where are we with NYCHA? Where are we with this? And I don't have a problem if the numbers are not great. Let's keep going at it. You don't solve problems overnight, but you need somebody who fundamentally cares about you, cares about New Yorkers and our children. Our children are dying with the weed, they're dying with the guns, and it's just picture day for leaders. Picture day after day, and no money and no opportunity. I need help. I'm the candidate that got on the ballot with less than $2,000. Nothing. They expected me to walk away. I got 5,000, almost 5,000 signatures, and they expect Dr. B to have walked away. I'm a fighter. My name is Selma. I'm a fighter, and I'm inviting you to a good fight. Fight with me right now, because the other candidates have the money. I live in the Bronx, raised my son in the Bronx. My son was named the Rising Black Scientist of the Year. Bronx 12 won't even give me a 5-second interview. Why? Because I'm talking truth to power, and I'm speaking to this. So you have groups. I need help right now. I need people to lift me up. I need people to put on some t-shirts, walk the days, walk with me over the next couple of weeks. Fight with me, because you heard that people are undecided because they know when morally bankrupt people are at the table. How can we elect morally bankrupt folks? Like, it doesn't make sense. So I do need help. My priorities are the people. So first 100 days, I plan on cleaning up New York City streets. They're filthy. They're just filthy. They're nasty. Coming in there with a very comprehensive plan to address, we haven't even talked about the challenges around our Medicaid and our seniors, right? Who are struggling, a comprehensive plan to address the needs of our seniors and our veterans and those individuals whose nursing homes are about to put them out on the street because of the gap in funding. And no one wants to talk about that. A comprehensive plan to now address our schools, education, and businesses. Our businesses in COVID, more than 80% of businesses were decimated, didn't get any help, any relief. I know that because I was challenged in this space. So my priorities, yes, safety, cleaning up the streets, addressing the needs of our seniors, and going after the salt of the earth, son, our education, our businesses in New York City. Let's go. Don't be silent. What I'm finding that really is hurting in some ways is kind of like I see the pain where people have opted out. That's why our children are hurting. The adults have opted out. They've opted out. They've opted out. They've decided that they can't have relationships with our children. What are you talking about? Those are our kids. Those are our children. And it's time the adults be adults in our children's lives. No more opting out. That's it. So they're opting out when it comes to me. Oh, Dr. B, I'm so sorry that's happening. Sorry. I can't put sorry in my gas tank. I love you. I love you. I love the city. I love our children. I love our people. I love all. I've worked with all people. I see the humanity in us. And I'm asking to be your mayor. I'm asking to be the first woman mayor, the first Black woman mayor for the city of New York, because I'm confident. I'm confident in my leadership. I'm confident in my brilliance. I'm confident in my drive in order to really go and solve some problems and to really address the needs of the people and the needs of our children. You can go to drselmab.com, hit the button that says donate. Yes, please do. Please donate.
Welcome to the Bronx Virtual Town Hall, advocating for safer streets, stronger families, and a fairer NYC. Follow Dr. Bartholomew's journey and discover events at drselmab.com. Your engagement is crucial as we create meaningful change. Thank you for being part of this movement. Let's work together to make her story a reality. Stay informed and connected by following Dr. Bartholomew at drselmab.com. Welcome to the Bronx Virtual Town Hall, advocating for safer streets, stronger families, and a fairer NYC. Follow Dr. Bartholomew's journey and discover events at drselmab.com. Your engagement is crucial as we create meaningful change. Thank you for being part of this movement. Let's work together to make her story a reality. Stay informed and connected by following Dr. Bartholomew at drselmab.com.
Hello, New York. Welcome to our Bronx Town Hall. Dr. Selma Bartholomew for First Woman Mayor of New York City. Happy Monday to you. Happy Monday to you. It is Monday, October 20th. I know we see a little bit of the change of the season, right? And so welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Wanted this moment to be able to hear from members of the community and to really talk about some of the issues in the Bronx with members of the Bronx community. And certainly, yeah, you have a family in Brooklyn and Queens. Come on, everybody's welcome in order to be able to have this conversation around community and my bold vision for New York City and the things that I want to do for you, for our children, for our seniors, who I call my grandparents, my golden gals and my platinum guys, right? You deserve to consider the possibilities of what it means to have clean streets again and what it means to have relationships with our children where we're not afraid, of our youth. There's too many people in our city. We are become afraid of our children, not able to talk to them, not able to direct them, afraid of our neighbors. And so we now have to turn this around and really go after solving some deep-rooted social, financial, and relationship issues in the city in order to move our city forward. So I so thank you. I thank you for joining. I thank our host at this Global Urban to be able to have them push this out for us at Global Urban Media. Thank you so much, Coach Raquel and her team, to be able to put this together for us this evening. And how I did it, we wanted to do it in this format because I could see comments on YouTube, but more importantly, we wanted to be able to give you a product that you can also share with your family members and with others as I talk about my candidacy for mayor of the city of New York. So welcome, welcome, Dr. Selma Bartholomew. I got a couple of text messages today. I got one from Elder Montgomery, and she said, Dr. B, I'm going to be with my church family this evening, and we're going to turn it on, and we're going to watch as a group. And so please feel free. You can put questions in the chat. So let's get into it. I want to talk a little bit about my why. Why does it matter? Why is it that I am fighting for the office of mayor of New York City? And then I want to really get into talking about what it is that I want to do for New York City. And I want to be able to also address some questions, and in particular questions around the Bronx. But like I said, I want to be able to apply the knowledge from the Bronx to also across the city. So for anyone joining, I am Dr. Selma Bartholomew. And yes, I was on your ticket in June of 2025. I am a Democrat. And I thank the communities across the city for getting me onto the ballot in June. And so I grew up in Harlem, and the members of Harlem, I live in the Bronx, said, hey, Dr. B, we can do this. And so had a very Herculean effort in order to get me onto the ballot. And I say that because when I stepped onto it, there's this thing called blood sporting. So why is it we've never had a woman candidate win the mayor's office? Because the powers that be, the money, those individuals with the super PACs, they have the huge legal teams, and they do this thing called blood sporting of candidates. And so, yes, they did attempt to blood sport me, to kick me off by questioning my cover sheet. We had over 900 pages of signatures. And then I got a note saying to my attorney saying that 1 or 2 pages wasn't numbered. And so, yeah, we were able to quickly respond. And yes, I was on your ballot in June, and I'm honored to say that to you, the members of New York City. So let's talk a little bit about my why as I introduce myself. So yeah, I am Dr. Selma Bartholomew. I am a New Yorker. I am a New Yorker, and truly what the spirit of New York represents. I was a newcomer. So if you've not heard that term before, I would like us to begin to apply that language of newcomer instead of this language of migrant, because it really creates a divide in the community. And so New York and this country has always had newcomers, right? Newcomers. And whether those newcomers were brought here as the African experience in this country, right, did not choose to come, they were brought here. But we have to be able to understand that mindset of what it means to be a newcomer in this country. So I was born in Grenada, and I'm honored to say I grew up in Harlem on 143rd and St. Nicholas, right opposite the Harlem School of Arts, and where the Jazzmobile was started. And so on any given summer day, I would be able to sit outside my 5th floor window and look and see all of the jazz greats. At the time, I did not know who they were. And so my love of New York was really rooted in being able to go across the boroughs. So even though I grew up in Harlem, I went to high school in Brooklyn. So I'm a Clara Barton High School graduate. Big up to my Clara Barton graduates. Clara Barton was a power school. They gave so many nurses and medical professionals to the city. And my heart ached during COVID when we lost so many nurses and so many caregivers, because I know, even though I may not know their names, I know that we have certainly lost some of the Clara Barton family members, those who really stepped into the gap in the health profession. I also went to college in the Bronx, and so I have a bachelor's in mathematics and physics from Lehman College in the Bronx. I hold 2 master's degrees, one from Adelphi and one from Fordham University in administration. And then my PhD, often people say, Dr. B, what kind of doctor are you? That's how my young people say it when I meet them, because they fundamentally haven't been told that there are other ways in which you can earn that title of doctorate. And so I have a PhD in leadership and policy from Fordham University, and I also have an ABD in pure mathematics. And so why does that matter? It matters because when we look at the history of this country, it is leaders who enact policy, and the policy are often rooted in mathematics. And mathematics is being used in order to see well. So I wanted to really well. I think my phone is a little bit off here and do I need to let me see in the chat. Can you put a thumbs up, Elder Montgomery, if you're still able to hear me well? I'm hearing an echo. I just want to make sure that you can. Okay. All right. I'm going to keep. All right. So okay. No echo. Great. Thank you so much. I see the comment. What are you in mathematics? Let me now talk about this city and what do I want to do for this and why. So my persistence was as we seen what was happening across our community. In particular, what is happening our young people, our youth, and also our this pushing proliferation of marijuana, weed across our community, where you can walk, see 12-year-olds. You see weed buses. What those are? Are there any of our questions? Okay, so there is an echo. He says that there's an echo. Okay, so there is an echo.
Welcome to the Bronx Virtual Town Hall. Advocating for safer streets, stronger families, and a fairer NYC. Follow Dr. Bartholomew's journey and discover events at drselmab.com. Your engagement is crucial as we create meaningful change. Thank you for being part of this movement. Let's work together to make her story a reality. Stay informed and connected by following Dr. Bartholomew at drselmab.com. Welcome to the Bronx Virtual Town Hall. Advocating for safer streets, stronger families, and a fairer NYC. Follow Dr. Bartholomew's journey and discover events at drselmab.com. Your engagement is crucial as we create meaningful change. Thank you for being part of this movement. Let's work together to make her story a reality. Stay informed and connected by following Dr. Bartholomew at drselmab.com. Welcome to the Bronx Virtual Town Hall. Advocating for safer streets, stronger families, and a fairer NYC. Follow Dr. Bartholomew's journey and discover events at drselmab.com. Your engagement is crucial as we create meaningful change. Thank you for being part of this movement. Let's work together to make her story a reality. Stay informed and connected by following Dr. Bartholomew at drselmab.com. Welcome to the Bronx Virtual Town Hall. Advocating for safer streets, stronger families, and a fairer NYC. Follow Dr. Bartholomew's journey and discover events at drselmab.com. Your engagement is crucial as we create meaningful change. Thank you for being part of this movement. Let's work together to make her story a reality. Stay informed and connected by following Dr. Bartholomew at drselmab.com.
Okay, I logged off and came back on. So I so appreciate that feedback, right? So let me know. Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Sister Chavis. Okay, so it says that's better. Thumbs up. If you hear it again, just let us know. I've got a great team. Thank you to Global Urban Media, a really phenomenal team led by Coach Raquel. And so big up to them. Shout out to them for their leadership and for their expertise. Okay, so I was at the point of talking a little bit about my why. As I look around at our communities right now, we are hurting. The culture of weed and the culture of drugs is what is fueling so much of the gang violence and the shootings in the Bronx and across the city. If you did not know, in the Bronx alone, we have had over 220 shootings. 220 shootings this year alone, and over 500 in the city. And so we have an epidemic, and this is not new. I know that people might say, well, it sounds so alarming, right? In Georgia, they just had a 3-year-old baby that was shot. And so we seem to not want to lean into this failure and lean into the fact that our children are hurting, mothers and fathers are crying. And so that is one of my reasons for stepping into this job. I have a proven track record of working with schools across this country. And so, for example, I worked with a school in Harlem called the Sojourner Truth School. When I went into the Sojourner Truth on the invitation and collaboration with the principal and with the teachers, Sojourner Truth is on 116th Street in Harlem, which is in District 3, which is extremely polarized. And so we have the wealth of District 3, and then we also have the divide, the economic divide of Harlem. And so they were performing, their third graders were at a 4% proficiency rate. By the time we finished, they had reached 71% proficiency. And I was honored to say that New York State, the commissioner of New York State, Dr. Betty Rosa, and our first African-American chancellor, Dr. Lester Young Jr., and team came to Sojourner Truth to honor the work that was done in the Sojourner Truth School of Harlem. And that's just one of many examples. I've worked with over 200 schools across this country for success. And in Chicago, I've also worked in Chicago, where we did a comprehensive curriculum around gang violence in Chicago. So I'm bringing proven experience and proven expertise to the mayor's office, and that is what you need in your mayor. And so when I saw the issues in community, and you're feeling it too, this is our Bronx chat, so I can see your questions, right? Like, this is what's happening in our community, and we can no longer, I see it as picture day. We can no longer keep having picture day on the news where we're just reporting out and we're not solving problems. And so, as mayor of the city of New York, I stepped into this race because I wanted to bring real solutions to the city and to heal our communities and to uplift our children and uplift families. So, that is one of the issues that I saw. The other thing as we get to talk about affordability is generational wealth is being stolen from our communities across the city, where we are not aware of the fact that the distribution and the use of land in the city is the responsibility of the city council members. And so we as New Yorkers, we've not been well educated and well informed about the policies and what's happening in our neighborhoods. And I'll give you a perfect example. So I live in the North Bronx, not too far from the Gun Hill 5 train. They dropped a lithium battery station literally right next to the 5 train. And the address of the business that they put up says Gun Hill on it, but the location is in Brooklyn. And so they're doing these things in our community, shadow aggressive, right? And keeping us in the dark about the things that we need. So let's get into it. Please put questions in the chat. I could see it. So let's begin with one of the things that I want to do for New York City and why. First 100 days, I want to clean up New York City streets. They are filthy. They are filthy. Yesterday, I did a Bronx walk in the Bronx. And what broke my heart was it's Sunday and people are going to church, right? They're worshiping on a Saturday, Sunday. We know people worship all days of the week, but so many people are out on a Sunday taking their families to church, and you're stepping over garbage. You're stepping over piles of garbage in the city. And we seem to be okay with that. I know you're not okay with it, but the leaders are okay with it. And so our complaints about wanting more garbage cans on the corners are ignored, not necessarily looking to see if we can bring in businesses and fund them to go and support this, right, to clean up our streets. And so let's talk about what I'd like to do. And so I thank you for joining me. Let your friends know. If you have an issue at all with the sound, just let me know. I can see your questions in the chat as well. So first 100 days, I'd like to clean up New York City streets. I'd also like to do something that's done in the southern part of Africa around a volunteer day of service. We can do this, right? We have 5 boroughs, and I know that we want to do the work together. We've just not had leadership put in the systems and structures and also messaging in that it's important. It's important to us to be able to come together and uplift our community. So how about a volunteer day of service across the boroughs? We have 5 boroughs. We can do a different day of the week based on the needs of the borough and assessing them and bringing them together to have this conversation. And the day of service doesn't have to be only about cleanup. We can have our young people going into our nursing homes and working collaboratively and side by side with our seniors. We can have them working in some of our pantries to be able to do that work, right? And so I see some questions about how will my administration rebuild trust between NYPD and the Bronx? Okay, so let's get to that. So a volunteer day of service is also going to help to build those relationships with NYPD, because we can now decide as a community, what is it that you want to focus on in the Bronx? What are your needs? How do you want to be able to create this change? What organizations are doing this work, right? And so one of the things I'd also like to do, so I've talked about cleaning up the streets, a volunteer day of service. Well, how do I get this in place? I'd like to do this thing called stewardship, block by block. We have individuals who have run civic associations and block associations, but guess what? They have never received any formal training from New York City in order to be able to really do their job well. And so let's identify the block captains. Let's identify those individuals who want to do the work, right? And let's give them the training that they need, the leadership training, the conflict resolution training, the skills training, and also the technology that they need to capture their meeting notes and and funnel it up from their community council members to the borough president's office to the mayor's office so that we flatten in government so we can get the knowledge. What's going to be special about this stewardship block by block, as I talk about NYPD, let's bring the youth into these meetings with the block captains, and let's bring NYPD in there as well. And so Saturday, I was out in Queens in the South Ozone Parks Civics Association, and one of the members of NYPD presented, and he said the following. He said that they took their initiative and they brought some of the youth in, the young men, and they started off with 7 young men. Now they have 20. And then he says, can people give donations for them to buy food? Oh my gosh, New York City, we're not poor. So how is it that the police is trying to build relationship with the young people and the city has not given them anything that they really need? So they, as police officers, know that it matters. They're taking initiative, but there's no structure and there's no concrete support. We can fix this. We can fix this. Okay. So let us now do stewardship block by block. I want to address some very specific questions. So let me go view a question. Let's make sure I got this right. I want to scroll back because someone asked, it says, many residents feel caught between fear and frustration. How will your administration rebuild trust between the NYPD and the Bronx community? So yes, so first it is having a leader in place that understands my expectations as mayor of the city of New York, right? And they need retraining. I fundamentally, as I have traveled and also worked across the boroughs, what I find is I go to the community meetings with the local police. It's the same meeting being repeated over and over again. So everybody complains about the cars that are that need towing. They're complaining about people breaking into their cars. They're complaining about the noise. They're complaining about people washing cars. It's the same discussions, but the notes don't go anywhere. And there aren't any systems in place to check to see, well, if you said that you're going to do a blitz to tow the cars, when is it done? How many cars were towed? What's the follow-up? So I want to be able to look more closely at building, like I said, those relationships with the block captains. You should know that part of the reason why we're seeing such a breakdown as well in our community with the police department is the neighborhood community officers who were in place, that our mayor and them has now flipped that model, and they're talking about doing QT teams. They didn't educate anybody about it. Nobody can find them. And so the neighborhood community officers never got more than one shift in order to do this work, right? So we now have to look at efficiency and say, is it necessary to do another shift? And if not, though, how do we now bridge the communication? And you know, things are happening, for example, in the summertime, the issues are in the evening, right? Where people are playing loud music and things like that. So if you don't have an NCO that you can call, that's what happens. And I want to give a very specific example because I am in the Bronx. We had an incident over the summer where we had 5 people shot at a park in the Bronx, in Hafen Park, not too far from me. And on the day that it happened, everybody had seen all of these young people out there. And I was getting calls from neighbors saying, hey, we got a lot of kids out here. Hey, Dr. B. And my response to them was, I no longer have an NCO that I can call and text. I used to have somebody I could immediately call when there was an issue and say, hey, we need you over there. And even if they weren't on duty, they know me and have a relationship with me. So that relationship is broken. So we need to rebuild those relationships and those trusts. We also need accountability. I'm not somebody who's clueless about the fact that we have a culture of abuse, right? So people shouldn't be earning overtime if they have been charged and not necessarily having those follow-ups in the organization. So we got to go after leadership. I also know, as I look at NYPD, that the systems and structures to capture things are not there. Like, they're literally going out to a domestic violence case and they're still filling out with paper and pen, literally paper and pen. There is artificial intelligence. There are tools available. When you give me a ticket, you can print the ticket and put it on my car window, but you can't figure out how to now give people the tools, the police officers, the tools that they need so we can capture the information. And that's one of the things that keeps it as an entrenched culture. When you don't have transparency and you can't look across the data and say, well, okay, how long did it take to respond? What is it that's being written up, and how do we look closely at the language of what's happening in DV or whatever those incidents are in the community? If it's something that's technology driven, you can find the answers much quicker. And so they have left us in a very dark space with old tools because that just fuels the violence. Okay. I want to see a couple more questions. I see the question around the shootings in the Bronx. What investments would you make in community-based intervention programs? So let me tell you about what I'd like to do in terms of my business model, which I have spoken about before, but as for new folks who have not heard some of my goals. So I'd like to do business hubs and financial literacy centers across the city. And I'm going to connect it to your question around community-based intervention programs, okay? So in these business hubs, zip code by zip code, I'd like to identify the entrepreneurs or the individuals who have ideas around community and around businesses that they would like to have uplifted. And I give you a perfect example. I was in the Bronx in Honeymoon Lane, and I met a young man, and he said, "Dr. B, I want a business." He wants to be able to hire the neighborhood kids to help clean up the streets. He's got a great idea, but guess what? He doesn't have a coach. He doesn't have a mentor. He doesn't have the tool. He knows what he wants, but he doesn't have the tools to navigate very complex systems around what it means to establish a business. So in this business hub, he would be welcomed in the hub. And let's give him the coaching, the resources, the investments that he needs in order to uplift himself as an entrepreneur. Let's connect him, right, with also individuals who he may be able to hire in the hub. So we have community-based programs right now who are doing intervention programs, but they're struggling. They're not getting the finances and the resources. And oftentimes, sometimes it just goes to the one large agency, and they're not necessarily distributing those resources to the other organizations that may not be as well known. And so we now need to be able to assess those programs and make an investment in those community-based programs that are doing work, yes, around incarceration. There's some really interesting models around community-based intervention, right? And so I see your question. I'm going to get to that one around police accountability. So I want to be able to identify the individuals doing the work, and I want to fund them, and I want to give them matching VC dollars because I am an entrepreneur. And as a Black-owned business that I established my business in 2008 in the middle of the recession, I have never gotten a helping hand in any way from New York City. And in fact, what people don't know is when you own a business, you don't get workman's comp, you don't get health insurance, you don't get those things that even give you, right, any of those supports. And so we have a lot of individuals. This is part of what it means to be in New York, isn't it not? The people come to New York to reach for their dreams and to really stretch themselves. But what happens when you don't get access and opportunity? You just kind of stay small. So the hubs matter because we can now identify community-based arts programs, intervention programs, as well as prevention. So my strategy around this violence piece in New York City, and in particular the Bronx, is four-pronged: education, redirection, accountability, and enforcement. And we have fundamentally not done the education piece well. And how I know that? I'm in all of your schools across this city. New York City has never really done any comprehensive training for young people to say, what do you do when a gang member approaches you? Who do you talk to? We're just making assumptions and leaving children, right, to navigate these complex, broken and negative relationships on their own without directing them and without giving them the resources. So we have to invest in both prevention as well as intervention programs. I see another question, community-based around the neighborhood piece. What's your plan to protect homeowners from deed theft? Okay, so I want to get to those questions around. I want to stay a minute with the economic revitalization piece and why the hubs matter, because someone asked about what do you see for faith institutions and community organizations in economic revitalization, right? And so, yes, our faith institutions, you are able to establish, in some ways, the non-for-profits. But right now, what they give you is Turkey Day, right? You get some dollars, and it's always about feeding people and not necessarily the comprehensive work around doing some of the work around DV, around leading men's groups, around really lifting people up. And so we've got to now have this opportunity for people to come into these hubs and to get the resources that they need in order to fundamentally uplift our community. If you allow me, I want to talk a little bit also. I want to stay with the violence piece in New York, and I want to talk a little bit about domestic violence before I address some of your questions around the deed theft. So the deed theft questions, the home accountability questions, I want to be able to answer. But I want to talk a little bit about domestic violence and also this piece around this relationships with police officers, right? And so our leadership always takes an accountability piece, right? They always take a piece just around arresting and those things. We have to be more holistic in building a healthy ecosystem. We have to go after what I refer to as networks of care. So, for example, if you have a child who's 12 years old, that child should be able to say who is in their network of care. That we cannot assume that we have traditional family relationships. Why? Because when I grew up in Harlem, crack devastated families across the city. Didn't matter if it was just Black and brown families, yes, but it was a really breakdown in families, right? And so we also know we don't have traditional families anymore. And we also know that this idea that one parent is working is not the reality. I'm meeting parents and they're holding down 4 jobs between between two people. So a child and any adult, as well as our youth, should be able to say who is in their network of care. Who's in your network of care? So that could be the hairdresser, right? That could be the neighbor. That could be the TO. That's often the grandparents. A lot of the issues that we're seeing now is as a result of COVID, we lost a lot of grandparents who was in the gap, standing in the gap for our young people, and they've lost grandparents, and no one else has said, who's in your network of care? And let's now solve and let's begin to put some resources. I would like to identify a cohort of children whose mother or father is incarcerated. And I want to track these young people, these youth. It could be from baby on. Let's identify them. Let's identify who's in their network of care. Let's give the resources and bring those people to the table. And remember those community-based organizations that you're talking about? Fund them. Fund them now to provide some training and some support, because just because I'm an auntie doesn't mean that I know how to be the best auntie in the world, right? So we need now to give people new tools and new skills. And we have to now have conversations about networks of care. I have worked with children, youth. I've taught women in prison. I've worked with kids, individuals who have been impacted by criminal justice. And what I have found by those impacted by criminal justice is oftentimes that bridge is broken. That if you're incarcerated, if when people think of Rikers Island, they think Rikers Island is a prison. No, Rikers Island is made up of several jails. So if you're in Rikers or if you're in one of the youth facilities, Horizon, oftentimes you have broken that relationships with your family. Right? That people may not be showing up for you, right? Because of trust is broken. So we have to now build networks of care using community organizations to be able to uplift those who can support those and who can give them the confidence, right? And the love that they need in order to pull themselves together, ask for help as needed, but also to get on their way to a path of success. So networks of care really matter to me as I move into this mayor's office. All right, so I see a lot of questions out there, so I so appreciate that. I also want to keep shouting out to Global Urban Media for their great job of really getting me on right now. All right, so now I hear your question about the abusive concern regarding NYPD's excessive and forceful and wrongful arrest. Are you opposed to holding abusive police accountability? Oh, no, I'm not opposed to that. Absolutely. They have to be held accountable. Absolutely. And that is what has fueled a culture of what I call both passive violence and physical violence, right? That if we don't have some level of transparency to be able to say if people are using excessive and wrongful force, then it's much more a news thing. And that's why the stewardship block by block matters. That you, as the community, we don't have any way of getting the information about what's really happening around policing within our communities unless it happened to you individually, or unless you see it on the news, or unless we hear about it. So we now have to now build up the structures in our community so that you're getting the information, and that's going to now bring you transparency. That is one of the reasons why this culture of force and wrongfulness continues, right? We just hear about it, but we are not looking at it as a community and now having those relationships. The other piece also I should say about this NYPD question, it is leadership. It is leadership that has continued to now hide, right? Hide this culture of wrongful arrest, hide this culture of violence. That I've spent time, how I look at, for example, our policing and our police departments, and how I do my work is I sit in spaces that you think are familiar, and I let it become strange to me. So I'm bothered by when I, as a member of the community, when we go into into our police departments, into our police precincts, one, they're not clean, they're not very welcoming, right? They definitely need a good sweep, a good paint job. It just feels dilapidated. They feel old. And then people don't even say good morning. They don't say good morning. And so you could sit there and they kind of just put on their face when they walk in the police offices. And so they're so guarded. And so there isn't any relationship. So all of this just fuels this culture of passive violence and physical violence. And so, yes, policing is a priority for me. And I spent the summer going to too many funerals and vigils for young people, too many. And I'm disappointed as well at our current our police chief, and I have not seen her not one day in the Bronx, not one day. And I'm not saying she's not in the Bronx. I'm just saying the number of shootings that we've had, not seeing you walk the streets not one day and introduce yourself and speak to our young people. And to be able to engage them. I also have picked up on the fact of going to so many individuals and going to the funerals that the community-based intervention organizations need to be there in the moment. So they're responding when someone is shot or when there's an act of violence, but they need to be there continuously throughout. Because if you're a young person having to now go to a funeral of another young person, that is traumatic. And you need to be there in the moment, helping those young people and helping all of those trauma victims in that moment, right? We're making the assumption that just because they went to the funeral that there's closure, and there isn't. So it just keeps this cycle of violence going, this cycle of retaliation going, because nobody is being consistent in really following up. I want to get to the accountability piece. How am I doing? I love your questions. I see you in the chat. So let's talk a little bit about the affordability piece. I'm going to come back to the subway question as well, because I'm staying a lot with safety and security, but I want to talk about affordability in the Bronx as well. So someone sent me a TikTok of Cardi B, and she was posting about the fact that New York, the Bronx rent has become so crazy. And will she be able, will people be able to actually, afford an apartment in the Bronx? And so Cardi B, Dr. B is here to help you and to help you explain why New York City has become unaffordable and why I am the mayor. My goal is to become the first woman mayor for New York City, and Bronx has never had a mayor. And so it's really important for us to be able to show it. Are we able to show it, Urban Media? Do you want to play it, or it's okay? I think your mute is on. I'll let the
It's so expensive. Why rent is so expensive? How the fuck is rent so expensive in the most fucking cheapest borough? I can't even imagine how much rent will be in Brooklyn where them Chinese people be living at. Or in Queens. Queens is expensive, period. You're not getting nothing if it's not 2,500. All right, so in Highbridge, right? How the fuck a apartment, a 1 bedroom, is like $1,500 in Anderson? I will never live in Anderson. Let me tell you something. One thing about Anderson, the block Anderson Highbridge,
Cardi is going in.
you wouldn't even I wouldn't even live there, even if there was an apartment there for $600. I could tell you this: living in Anderson is worse than living in the projects. Because, like, I remember when
I don't want to be
when I was a teenager, my aunt, she lived in Anderson for 2 years, and I was living in.
Okay, so can you guys? Am I echo? Okay, we're back. So Cardi is saying that at the end of the day, how is it that the rent in New York City has become so expensive? $1,500 for a 1 bedroom. I hate to tell Cardi, it's now more than $1,500. It's upwards of $2,500 for a 1 bedroom apartment in the city. So let me explain to you what I want to do around affordability. And yes, I see your questions around deed theft as well. So right now we have several policies in place that are really designed to push average New Yorkers out of the city, push us out of the city, and to steal generational wealth. So how did New York City become unaffordable, and what do I want to do for it as mayor of the city of New York? So first of all, as I mentioned, your city council members are responsible for the use of land. So our program, Stewardship Block by Block, you need the knowledge and the information now as stewards of our community. So that's the first thing. We've got to educate people and give them the knowledge. Currently, the mathematics does not work in our favor as average New Yorkers. Currently, when a developer comes into the Bronx and says, it could be in South Bronx, it could be in Highbridge, it could be in any part of the Bronx or any part of the city, the developer says to city council members, we're going to build, quote unquote, affordable housing. All right. And we have candidates who are saying this, oh, they're going to build affordable housing, but nobody gets to question them about what is your definition of affordability. I'm going to say it again. Mamdani and Cuomo keeps telling you that they're going to build affordable housing, but no one is at the table. They have denied me seat after seat at the table to be able to question them and say, what is your definition of affordability? So how does the city become unaffordable? So the first thing is the developers should not be using the income of individuals outside of our zip code. Specifically, they should not be using the income of the wealthy from Wall Street and Westchester in order to calculate affordability. So of course, if you now tell me that somebody makes $1 million versus somebody, the average salary for Black families and brown families in New York City is $19,000 a year. Shameful, $19,000 a year. And so when they now include the income of individuals outside of our community, the cost of affordability is not affordable to the person who makes $19,000. It's going to be affordable to the person making $250,000 or $1 million a year. And so we're now kicked out. So rule number one, as mayor of the city of New York, my goal is transparency, to ensure and to look across the city and to say, no, you can no longer use the income of individuals outside of New York. That's the first thing. The second thing, in terms of how do I protect our homes and how do I protect and ensure that we have apartments that we, the average New Yorker, can afford, is right now, our city council members and the developers have been taking 80% market rate goes to the developer and only 20% goes to the city. So 80% to the developer and 20% to the city. Does that make sense? When there's more of us out here, And of course, if you're a developer, you want to be able to have the 80% because you want to make more profit. But we need to say to developers, you're going to make your profit, but not on the backs of hardworking New Yorkers. So I want to say to you, New Yorkers, that we can get to truly affordable housing by the city taking the 80%. Give the city the 80%. And what do I want to do with that 80%? I'd like to say 15% goes to veterans, 15% goes to seniors. Why? Because our veterans are homeless. Our veterans, we are pushing them into poverty. And so now we also should give 15% to seniors, right? And so, yeah, the rent in New York City is a crime. Matter of fact, Halloween is October 31st. We should all put the sticker price of rent and go around and scare all New Yorkers, right? We don't need Halloween costumes. We just need to put the price we're paying on rent in order to scare us out. It's scary and it's ridiculous. So now we need to be able to claim the 80% back. And you see how mathematics and policy is being used to steal generational wealth from us. So that formula is not working on behalf of us as New Yorkers. So as mayor of the city of New York, I'm not gaslighting you. People are gaslighting you, telling you, oh my God, we're going to build 50,000 affordable housing. No, they are blatantly lying to you and are not telling you the truth, because then they know when they come up into that office, yeah, they're going to build 50,000 units of affordable housing, but it's going to be affordable for the people who live outside of our zip code and pushing the average New Yorker out. If a teacher cannot afford to live in New York City, it's not affordable. So that formula must absolutely change. The question of deed theft is also a policy question. So New Yorkers, we are not poor. Our mayor and our city council members in the recent budget gave $400 million to renovate Fifth Avenue, So we are not poor. You should know we have a $116 billion budget in New York City, and also a $169 billion capital improvement budget. And how I want you to make sense of that number as a mathematician is, when the number of millions get too much to count, when we count in millions and the number of millions gets so overwhelming, the mathematician groups it together and says, I'm going to make $1 billion. So a $116 billion budget is on the table while people tell you that they want to give you free food and free buses that they know they can't deliver. No, we're about to have some conversations about policy. A reminder that you will not see my name on the ballot. You must write me in. So now this question of deed theft in New York City. We now must have to shine a light on our leaders across the city. Yes, the mayor's office will give you, as mayor of the city of New York, my job is to give you transparency and to align the budget in terms of priorities. We have had over 3,500 cases of deed theft in this city. And the city has not allotted any deep financial resources to provide the legal services, to provide the awareness of what individuals need in order to combat this. As mayor of the city of New York, I'm walking into that office on day one with a clear message. This RICO level conspiracy between judges and court clerks and lawyers and real estate owners and banks that are intentionally have woven themselves together in a relationship to intentionally steal the homes of New Yorkers is my priority, is an absolute priority. So you need to now have some level of transparency across the city. So once again, individuals need education and they need awareness. So I'm a homeowner as well. If you don't know this, if you own a home, you can register with the city that anytime anybody does anything against your property, mortgage, whatever it is, you can get an email. But that's not enough. So New York State has passed the Deed Theft Act, but guess what? That's much more around prosecution. They could have said to New Yorkers and to people in New York State, number one, that deeds should be notarized by an attorney. And yes, we know that there are corrupt attorneys that individuals have had and brought to court. But when a deed is notarized by just any average notary on the street, the notary can say, my notary stamp was stolen. It's a hot, crazy mess. We now need structures, and we now need to be able to look to see how we solve this problem. So one, deeds need to be notarized by an attorney. Number two, we need now to be honest and transparent about our attorney general. The attorney general, and the information that people need is that our attorney general has the power in order to be able to put a stay on some of these evictions and return people's homes. And so right now it's a lot of shadow aggressive. So I want to be able to have a task force in place around this issue of deed theft, number one. Number two, put the funding in the budget to be able to give individuals the legal services that they need in order to address this, because you don't have the income. You're already struggling and barely paying your mortgage, and now someone is literally stealing your home from you, and the stress from that is enormous. I cannot even fathom what that is like, but I'm saying to you that more than 3,000 New Yorkers are experiencing this. And so we now need to be able to really address this issue holistically, with knowledge, with information, and with some level of transparency for New Yorkers. Someone asked, how will I make the city more transparent? That's a great question. Thank you so much. How will I make the city more transparent? So one of the things I'd like to do, as you look at this broad city, is I want to do a quality of life index tool. And this is all part of just connecting all of my policies and my platform together. That leaders who are truly transformational, we understand that there will always be fears. So fears are always keeping us back, right? Ooh, you're afraid to ask a question. You're afraid of, taking a risk to go after your dream. So fears keep us, right? I know that fears are always there. As I stepped out into the mayor's race, a lot of people were like, oh, Dr. B, aren't you afraid? Well, fears are there, but I refuse to let fears keep me from reaching my dreams. So we know what the fears are, but you also need to know what is the current state of New York City. And I know fully well, as a New Yorker, as a Bronxite, as a mom, as somebody who has lived in this city, things are constantly being done to us, dumped on us, especially in the Bronx and across our Black and Brown communities in particular, that they are constantly dropping things on us. Buildings go up. You have no idea what's happening. And so you need transparency. So how will I get that for you? A quality of life index tool. And this quality of life index tool will give us the information we need. Where are the barbers? Where's the hairdressers? Where are the funeral homes? Do we still have any left? Where is the dry cleaners? So for example, with this City of Yes policy that I didn't even touch yet, a lot of our legacy dry cleaners, individuals who's owned their business for 50 years, being pushed out because the rent has become so expensive. So let's first assess where people are in the city. Where's the suicide prevention? Who's doing that? Where are the doulas in your zip code? Do you know if you're in a 10032 zip code? Where are the doulas? What about a 1055 zip code? Where are the birthing centers? So I want to give you a tool as mayor that's a stewardship tool. So as I transition out of mayor's office, I'm not going to be there all my life, folks. I got to be able to give you what you need to look ahead at a bigger vision. So this tool will give you the power of transparency, that no more can people just come and dump things when you know what's in your neighborhoods, and you could click on a zip code and say, oh my, they have a skating rink, or oh, they have 2 parks. Now we can align the funding. So there is a $169 billion capital improvement budget on the table, New Yorkers, that people are keeping you blind to. So Zohan Mandami is busy talking free food, free buses, free this, right? And all of that things that he cannot deliver, because when you now keep people and tell these big lies, I'm being honest with you, it's a huge lie. And it's also a very failing mindset. It's a failing mindset. I'm a business owner. I'm a woman of color. Nothing is free. Look at what's happening around our healthcare. Nothing is free. We need to say to people, you pay taxes and your taxes go to government, and government is then able to now what? Offer help, right? To those who need it. But nothing is free. So you might think I'm getting on the subway and I don't have to pay, but guess what? A check has to be written to Omni and to those individuals to offset it. So it is not free, and it is shameful to send that mindset and claim that that's socialism. Go take a basic economics class, and that's why we need education and to better educate our young people, right? That if you took a basic economics class, you would know that socialism is never about things that are free. It's not that in any way. And so my goal for the $169 billion budget is to reimagine the city. As we talk about the Bronx, and as I talked about the crime in the Bronx, look around your city tomorrow and ask yourself, where are the spaces for our youth, our teenagers, our 20-year-olds, our 25-year-olds? I was on the Southern State Highway the other day, and there was this young man, young Black guy, I could tell, and he was literally on a scooter, riding his scooter through the highway traffic, headphones on, having himself a good time, right? So that sense of situational awareness, but more importantly, where's the space for him? Where's the space for him? So we can be angry and we can be frustrated at our kids who are riding the mopeds and tossing them around. But in reality, your parks are not designed for young people. Not every kid wants to play basketball. And what do they do in the wintertime? What do they do? What do they do in the wintertime when they can't? You now have to redesign space to really look at the needs of the city. And I would like to say to you, let's go and dream bigger. And in those business hubs, let our architects, let our designers come up with new ideas for this city, and let's fund it, right? And so your parks and our spaces, this $169 billion budget means you can get your sidewalks fixed. That we don't have to give $400 million to renovate Fifth Avenue, and they didn't give a dollar to the Bronx. They could have said $50 million for this borough, $50 million for that borough, $50 million for that borough, and instead they gave $400 million to renovate the doorways of Donald Trump, of Bloomberg, and of Cuomo, who pays more than $7,000 a month for his apartment. If you're talking about affordability, tell me how somebody who pays more than $7,000 a month for rent will be able to address you, the poor, and me. He'll understand it when you're having a rainy day, right? So I'm talking real issues. I want to keep looking at your questions. I thank once again Global Urban Media for their just pulling this together, this Bronx Town Hall, and to be able to now address some of your questions. I saw the question on the faith institution. I see also some questions around family. And I also want to say to you this question around our faith institutions and how to better use them. Can I talk a little bit about my strategies for the homeless and for our mentally ill, if you'll allow me, as we have this conversation? And I'm mindful of the time as well. So I thank you. Please, keep inviting your friends. I thank Global Urban Media for this, because you'll be able to share it on this platform and to be able to share it out as we now move right into the November 5th. A reminder, I was on the ballot in June of 2025, denied the debate stage because they wanted me to spend upwards of $2.3 to $2.5 million just to have a seat at the debate. So you saw the last debates and you saw the same candidates, because add up all that money. I still don't know what you want to spend it on, but I guess at the end of the day, it's all about, it is all about the wealthy. You're experiencing a selection, not an election. So come November 4th, I'm asking you to elect me to the office of mayor by writing my name in. You will not see my name on the ballot. You must go to the polls and take your power back. Make her story, and write my name in, Selma K. Bartholomew, on the ballot. So let's talk briefly. I'm mindful of the time. I so thank you. I'm sending you lots of love. I want to talk about the issues around our homelessness and our mental illness, and in particular in the Bronx. So we all see it, right? You drive you walk, you're going home at any decent hour, and our bus stops, right, have homeless men as well as women in the bus stops, sleeping in the bus stops at night. Our subways are are overrun with individuals who don't feel safe in the shelters. And keep in mind, like I said, the city just gave how much to Fifth Avenue? $400 million. And they put this congestion pricing tax on our backs, congestion pricing tax. So as communities, and in particular Black and brown communities, the research says that we are overly taxed, that we have the tax liens, the tax debt, that you have red light cameras every single where, and all of this weighs down on us financially. And we had a congestion problem and have one in Lincoln Hospital that literally sees 25,000 patients a week. So when you go to Third Avenue, you go to the Bronx right now, 149th Street, the number of shootings, the number of stabbings, right? And they keep telling us crime is low. No, it's become a cycle, a revolving door cycle where we are not addressing this. So what would I like to do for New York City around this? One of the things I want to say to you is we can no longer just say homeless and mentally ill, that we have to realize that not everybody who's homeless is mentally ill. Not everybody who's mentally ill may be homeless, right? So we now have to level individuals. And what I mean by that is someone who may have just now experienced homelessness might be somebody, a young person, or somebody in a relationships, and you're now put out. Somebody says, get out. You can't stay here anymore, right? So you find yourself on the street. I want to do an initiative that was done by Brooklyn Community Services, one of the oldest nonprofits in this city. And they piloted shower buses, dignity buses. And why is that important? Well, if you're living in any of our NYCHA or any apartment building that may not have really great security, what individuals have shared with me, and I have also seen it as I'm also doing a lot of door knocking as well. The hallways and the elevators are now used as bathrooms, right? And then you also have people with the weed, right? So all of these are things that are just fueling this culture of passive violence and this feeling that we've kind of given up on our city. So the shower bus will do something very particular. It's going to catch, right, those level 1 individuals, as well as anyone level 1 to level 4. And it'll now create a space to have a relationship with someone, to be able to say, come, here's a shower bus, and now let's have those services available to those individuals. The other thing that we have to now do as we assess quality of life tools and what's in your zip code, we do not have enough services that are taking place 24 hours. We're not funding that. So what do you do after 5 o'clock, after 7 o'clock, after 8 o'clock? So we need to have in the community the opportunity to really catch individuals and to support them. So I want to do the shower buses across. I'd like to do also a dignity and care board. Has never been done before. So as you know, yes, New York did involuntary commitment, but what happens now is when somebody comes into a hospital or they pick up someone who is crashed, they bring them into the hospital, they have them all in a room. They bring them to the hospitals and there's no place for them to go. So when someone mentioned this question around the faith institutions, we need now to fund these organizations, fund our faith-based institutions, and say, maybe this church might be able to take the level 2 individuals or even the level 1 individuals. And so we now have a strategic plan around what the needs are, what the profile is of that individual who is homeless or mentally ill. And I see the profile, how I help other individuals or organizations think. There's level 1 to level 5. Level 1 might be a beginning, and a level 5 might be someone who's crashed, right? So they need something different. But right now we have all the levels, everybody literally sitting in a room in Lincoln Hospital, sitting in Presbyterian without getting individualized and differentiated care. I also want to say to you that the conditions of our shelters are disheartening, troubling, and abusive. That where is the money going? that we need now to be able to use our improvement budgets to be able to now go across the city and clean it and elevate it, right? And really raise the standard of care that individuals are receiving. The final thing, and I'm mindful of the time, I know it's 8:02. I couldn't get to, it was a good thing, I couldn't get to everything on my platform. I guess I want to say to you in terms of who I am and why I am confident in my step into as mayor of the city of New York is I am confident in my leadership. I'm confident in my strategic thinking. I am like Deborah, leading in a world of men all of my life. And so strategies and things that just really flow. And what we have been experiencing in New York City is we have been electing leaders who do not belong to us as a community. I want to say that to you. You have to now understand that when I say it's a 2 plus 2.3, 2.4, $2.5 million spending just to debate, and nobody has told us that as a community, it means that you now need to be able to understand that you're thinking, oh my God, I got to vote for a winning candidate. None of those candidates are going to be winning for you. That the wealthy is not going to take care of us, the poor, the middle class. It is systematic. And so it is so important to say that. So as I come, I'm winding down. I so want to kind of respectful of the time. I know you've got the dinner hour to go to. I want to invite you to continue this conversation with me on Thursday. This coming Thursday, I'm actually doing an in-person town hall in Harlem at the Williams Institute CME Church on the corner of 132nd Street off of 7th Avenue. And so we have enough space. So please come, please share. It's in person from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. in-person town hall. So you get a chance to actually meet Dr. Bartholomew in person. Bring the love, bring the joy as you come. And so I want to continue these conversations as we are pushing now in this election season and saying to individuals, you don't have to hold your nose and go to vote for immoral candidates. You need to now sincerely, I'm asking you sincerely for your vote, the vote that really serves to uplift people. Who I am, I'm a steward. What I do now, what I do in the now, matters in the now, but it's also setting us up for a future of prosperity. Consider the possibilities of clean streets again. Consider the possibilities of having leaders in place who are going to go after the excessive force and wrongful arrest and go after the information, the data, and the changing in the culture. So I see this question around NYPD. Leadership matters. Leadership matters. And so it matters to be able to have a leader at the table who's honest and transparent with you. Why people are gaslighting us, lying to us about the numbers and not showing us fundamentally this is the current state. And let's be bold together as we move forward. And so I want to say to you once again, you will not see my name on the ballot, but guess what? If they could do it in Buffalo, no offense to my family and friends up in Buffalo, right? If the people in Buffalo can elect a write-in candidate, the people in Buffalo was able to elect a write-in mayoral candidate. Can we do this in New York? Can we do this in New York City? Come on, let's get activated. And I'm asking for your love. But more importantly, I want to say to you on behalf of my team, we've been doing this fight for the past 9 months. And I'm going to close with something that I'm literally dealing with right now. We are under the impression that the media is supposed to show all of the candidates, and give us time. That is not the truth. They say it, but it is not the truth in terms of how they treat me and how they've been treating me as a candidate. So I literally had to write, I sent an email to the producers of The View because Mamdani was on The View, Cuomo was on The View, right? And I am a write-in candidate. I'm an official candidate. And so I said to them, equal time, right? They have literally just had their legal team write me a letter that says, that their research indicates that I'm not a bona fide candidate. Oh my gosh. That Here you are with women, all women, putting a front face of women, but look behind the scenes and look at what they are saying to me, that my voice as a candidate does not get to be heard because they did their research and said, I'm not a bona fide candidate. And they think that I will be silent. I'm not going to be silent. I'm not going to be silent. So tomorrow I'm going to post on it. And I'm asking you to let them know. Join me in this good fight. Because if we fundamentally are angry and upset about the fact that we have had 200 shootings in the Bronx, 500 shootings. I didn't even talk about the state of education in our city, that our children, community college graduation rates, less than 15%, 30% to graduate in 6 years. The ecosystem is not working in this city, And so you deserve a mayor who knows New York. There is not a borough in this city that I do not know. If you don't know that, I know Staten Island, for example. Most people do not know that Staten Island does not have a public hospital. Shameful. So there's not a borough that I've not been to that I do not know. So you want a leader, you want a mayor who loves you, loves our children, and loves our city. And I'm asking you for your vote to not see it as robbing yourself and instead to see it as empowering, that you can finally elect your mayor. Where now I'm telling you that all of these other elections that even I participated in was nothing but a selection as a result of money and the political action committees. So this is the time that we need change. This is the time that we now have to go to vote for the people. And I'm being honest with you as Dr. Bartholomew. I am not kidding you. If you think that the city is unaffordable now, if you think that you're going to be able, if you see the deed theft, the city of yes, the high price of rent, the issues in terms of drugs and gangs, they're not trying to solve that. Those other candidates are looking at the money, You have a governor who already had the privilege of being the governor, and he wants the privilege now of being the mayor. And so I'm asking you for your vote. I'm asking you to not be silent. We need folks to volunteer. Please go to my website, see how you can donate, and also show up over the next 2 weeks. Show up. We've got a few shifts. Tomorrow morning, we're going to be in the subways in the Bronx. We're going to be in the subways in Brooklyn. We're going to be handing out cards. So we need individuals to show up for us now. Join me in this good fight. Let us go fight for the people and for our children. I thank you. I thank you so much for showing up for me. I know I may not have been able to get to all of the questions. Are there any that is really, I think someone asking me to speak about ICE. And so I guess what I can say to you about that briefly is it's not only giving money for legal services around ICE, right? But look what happens when you have somebody who looks at policy. What our Democrats are not saying is those Republicans look very closely at policy. And they are eating them up at policy. So if we don't understand some of the policies around immigration and what needs to change policy-wise, we're always going to be in this predicament. So you need a mayor that understands policy and goes after policies in order to solve some of these issues around ICE, right? Also, more importantly, it's awareness, it's engagement, and it's funding those organizations that are standing in the gap for it. Funding for those organizations. How do I redefine activism so everyday Bronx residents see their daily choices as part of the movement of change? I did redefine activism in terms of saying, one, let's get you to identify with each other. We need to identify with each other as neighbors, as family members. Two, you need also to be able to be empowered to have the information and the knowledge you need about how your community works, how your city works, right? And how government works so that you can now benefit from government. Too much of our communities, we are not benefiting. Things are being done to us because we do not have the information. But that's number two. Number three, you also need the power to vote in the candidates that are for you. That's why I'm fighting for you to be able to really have a candidate that you know you're voting in. I am not for the PACs, that I belong to you. That's the third thing. But here's the fourth thing. You can vote people out when you have knowledge. You can vote people out. And we've not been doing that as communities to say, these individuals have not been accountable to us and you have the power to vote them out. And number 5, you need to understand where the money and where the budgeting is as communities so that you can now ensure that you are getting the money and the resources that you need in order to move forward. Please join me in the movement. You can scan. I didn't. Oh, come on now. I see the question about the government shutdown. I'm mindful of the time. It's 8:15 and I know people are here. The government shutdown, I think once again, this is about policy. This is about policy, and this is about whether or not people communicated before they voted or did not go to vote for someone. Look at the buyer's remorse. Look at the buyer's remorse and the implication across our city agencies. The people fundamentally didn't understand how much government was part of their lives, their everyday lives. And so when our president was running around talking about drain the swamp and people, it sounded good to individuals. Now look at where it hits you. It hits you right in your everyday services that you cannot gain access to, that you call or reach out now, and federal agencies have a message out that says, right, that they can't take complaints, they can't solve problems. And we are now several weeks into this government shutdown. But we also do need businesses as well. I know that in the city, in this country, we've talked about more than, people say this number 300,000 Black women have lost their jobs. It is way more than that. That is a low estimate. And so what are the systems and structures that we need in our community to really sustain, right, and support, and to make people not always feel like if they're being felt so vulnerable, that we need to feel that sure-footedness and that confidence. I'm going to come to a close. Let me just say to you once again, I thank you. I thank you so much for joining me this evening for this Bronx and also City Town Hall. I was trying to make sure that I kind of address some of the questions around the safety, security, and my bold vision for New York City. And my vision is bold. As mayor of the city of New York, I want to say to you that my number one job as mayor is to fuel your dreams and to show you the possibility, to consider the possibilities of really providing options and opportunities for you, for our youth, and for all members of our city to be able to feel uplifted, right? That there's something special about New York. There's something special about our ability to be resilient, to care for each other. But we also know that we came here and we're part of a city that we want to feel like if we have some level of upward mobility, that we're able to sustain and also thrive, and also just be also good neighbors with each other. So I thank you so much. I don't know who just joined, and I want to just say thank you. We're coming to a close, Brother Robert. Thank you so much. I want to thank once again Global Urban Media. Once again, please go to my website, join my team. Come on, let's go walk next on a Saturday to be able to really push out in community. I also want to say to you, we're going to be doing a Staten Island cleanup on October 26th. So you can easily go to my website, click on the link tree, and all of my calendar is available, where you'll see where we are across the 5 boroughs. This Saturday, we literally hit Queens. We were in Queens, and then we were in Harlem, and then we were in the lower part of Manhattan. So I'm here. But what matters now is that I need you, and I need you to not just dance to boots on the ground and clap, clap our fans. I need boots on the ground. I need you now to live boots on the ground and show up for Dr. Selma and know that I can't be everywhere. But what matters more is when members of the community are out and walking and talking to individuals about why vote for Dr. Selma Bartholomew, and to be able to get people to vote. And I think what's going to rock this is, I know for a fact that 75% of the people did not want to go vote for any of these candidates. And so we got to get those people to know that you have a fighter in this race named Selma. And so I thank you once again for coming out. I promise I will collect all of the questions as well, and I'll try to keep posting my ideas and solutions around it. I couldn't get to all of the questions, but I thank you so much around really bringing that level of accountability to our vote, Write her story in, write my name in, Selma K. Bartholomew. Don't forget the K, Selma K. Bartholomew, for first woman mayor of New York City. I'm sending you lots of love. You know I love you, and I want to thank you for this afternoon to be able to do this town hall. Look at how joy shows up in the struggle. Joy shows up.
The Bronx Virtual Town Hall, advocating for safer streets, stronger families, and a fairer NYC. Follow Dr. Bartholomew's journey and discover events at drselmab.com. Your engagement is crucial as we create meaningful change. Thank you for being part of this movement. Let's work together to make her story a reality. Stay informed and connected by following Dr. Bartholomew at drselmab.com. The Bronx Virtual Town Hall, advocating for safer streets, stronger families, and a fairer NYC. Follow Dr. Bartholomew's journey and discover events at drselmab.com. Your engagement is crucial as we create meaningful change. Thank you for being part of this movement. Let's work together to make her story a reality. Stay informed and connected by following Dr. Bartholomew at drselmab.com.